welcome to the Pregame Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Gall, here with
Jake Bortel. What's up, guys?
And we would love to welcome you guys to the brand new Fantasy Pregame Podcast. Here, you guys are going to be the Pregame Podcast people. That's what we're going to call you guys. And we're up on YouTube now, not just on the Anchor Podcast app, Apple Music, and Spotify. We're moving to YouTube, and we're so excited to get it started. So we're going to be a fancy podcast from now on, and a new segment that I came up with is Big Dogs, Little Pups. All right? So the big dogs are the guys that you're going to want to start in your fantasy league every single week. All right? So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do one player at each position, and these guys are going to win your weeks. Jake, go ahead and start us off.
All right, so my quarterback for this week is I got Justin Herbert just against that weak defense against Houston. I don't like their defense that much. I know they put the Colts up in tied the Colts. You don't know what the Colts are. The Colts, you don't know what they are. They literally were playing with Matt Ryan, and they his first game as the Colt. You don't know. I just don't like their defense. They gave up the most yards. So
Herbert being banged up. Who is Herbert? Your big dog?
Yeah, Herbert's my big dog of the week.
Oh, okay. I like it. All right. Hopefully, Justin Herbert can get a big comeback this week.
If he's healthy, I like him a ton just because of that. He's the guy.
Herbert is a top 5 fantasy quarterback when healthy, 100%. For my big dog, I tried to go away from the big guys in the league, guys that we know are top 5. I want to give you guys a good sleeper option. So my big dog of the week at the quarterback position is Marcus Mariota. So Mariota going into week 4. He is ranked the QB 12, and he's averaging 20 points a game. He has ran the ball 25 times. We know how big running the ball is in PPR formats. Jalen Hurts went out. He's one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league. He's a top 3 quarterback in fantasy right now. Lamar Jackson, the best running quarterback in the league right now, and is the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. Mariota has a good matchup with the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are going to go out there. Jadeveon Clowney is banged up. Myles Garrett, hopefully that he comes back and performs well this season, but he just got in that car accident a couple days ago, and that pass rush is not the same without him. Same way TJ Watt is that big. TJ Watt is that big for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Myles Garrett has the same impact for the Browns. The Browns, even with Garrett this year, have been mediocre at best, ranked 23rd defense against quarterbacks this year. Mariota is going into that week with Cordero Patterson, his number 1 running back, and the biggest threat to take away from his points being banged up already, and he has missed practice this week. I love Mariota's matchup at home against the Browns. He is being ranked as the 14th quarterback on Pro Fantasy. I think that he will have a top 8 finish this week. Jake, who's your running back big dog of the week?
Running back big dog of the week, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, love the matchup against the Patriots. Patriots allowed 344 rushing yards this season so far, over 3 games. I love that for Aaron Jones. Sucks that A.J. Dillon's going to take some carries away, but if they get him in the red zone, if you have Aaron Jones, start him this week. You're going to start him every week, but I like him this week going up against their defense, not the great defense. You don't know if Mac Jones is hurt, so Green Bay's going to have the ball a ton this week. So I like that one a lot this week with Aaron Jones as my big dog.
The Pats are saying Mac Jones hasn't been ruled out for week 4. I saw it's going to be a multi-week injury. I think that's what it's going to be.
That's what I think, too. I think it's a few weeks injury, and that's why I'm picking.
If you're going against Brian Hoyer, you don't need Aaron Rodgers to throw 4 touchdowns.
Exactly.
And when Aaron Jones gets in the end zone, he's not doing it just once.
Boom.
He does it multiple times.
On. Yes.
As a guy that's had him in multiple fantasy leagues the last couple of years, he's been an absolute
He'll catch it out of the backfield for you. He'll run it when he needs to. It's just, he's going to be a beast.
Yeah. I love the pick. At running back this week, I have a guy that's been a major disappointment. Alvin Kamara, a guy that was taken in a late first, early second round in fantasy drafts this year, has been nothing less than a bust the first 3 weeks of the season. Week 1, he put up 6 points. Week 2, he missed. And then week 3, he put up 7. Now, you may call me crazy, but Alvin Kamara went into last week He got 15 rushing attempts, which is decent. He had a 70% snap count, which is elite for the running back position. For a running back position, you want a guy that gets at least 60%. So he got 70%, he got 15 rushing attempts, and he got 7 targets at the rushing position. Now, Alvin Kamara is never going to be a 1,000-yard rusher. That's never who he was. That's not who he's going to be. But his mainstay is in the passing attack. Going to London in a week where Jameis Winston is banged up.
They're talking about starting Andy Dalton this week. I've seen...
if Andy Dalton starts, that moves Camaro up to a top 5 running back.
For sure. And what I really like about that is now he's not my big dog of the week for wide receiver, but I'm high on Chris Olave this week too as well.
I love Olave if Winston plays. If Andy Dalton plays, then I think that sets him back a little bit. But I think Olave is an absolute stud. Alvin Kamara, though, going against Minnesota, who Minnesota gave up terrible rushing numbers against the Detroit Lions, where DeAndre Swift only had 7 rushing attempts that game.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Williams, the backup running back, went 20 for 80 and 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, I think, is going to be an absolute stud, and he's going to give you a market correction this week. So he is going to be my big dog of the week at running back position. Jake, who's your wide receiver?
My wide receivers, homer pick here. I'm going CeeDee Lamb. Now this week, I'm going CeeDee Lamb just because they're going up against the Commanders' defense. Commanders' defense is terrible. Their pass rush is terrible. Corners are terrible. Devonte Smith went crazy last week. A.J. Brown went crazy last week.
Minor St. Brown had a fantastic game against the Commanders week too.
Crazy. I'm going CeeDee Lamb here as my big dog of the week for receiver. Love the matchup for him. They're gonna focus on Zeke because their Cowboys came out today saying they're gonna run the ball a ton. All right, load the box. That means
Opens up opportunities.
Lamb's wide open. Brown's wide open. Dalton Schultz is probably back this week. Yep. I love him this week for a weak secondary for the Commanders.
And this is coming off a game where CeeDee should have had at least 30 points in fantasy. He finished the game with 17, I believe. Yeah. 17 or 18. He left at least 11 points on the board on the drop touchdown that went 50 yards. So CeeDee Lamb, I think he's a good buy low, which I still think that he is in the buy low candidate because just having Cooper Rush as your quarterback and him disappointing the 2 weeks prior, I don't know if the CeeDee Lamb owner is still excited to do with CeeDee. So I would try and move on to that, especially with Dak coming back in the next 2 weeks. At my wide receiver position, I have a guy that comes as consistent as they come, Courtland Sutton. Now, Courtland Sutton is coming into this week. He's averaging 17 points a game after a mediocre 10-point week 1. He has an offense that has been downright terrible. Terrible. There's nothing else you can say about it. Russell Wilson has completely struggled.
Can't cook. Russ can't cook.
They haven't gotten the end zone much, but Sutton has still been the wide receiver 17 on the season. He is consistent. He dominates the target share, and he is easily the number 1 guy. I think that he is going to get in the end zone this week. I love the matchup, and he is going to be my big dog of the week. Honorable mention to Rashad Bateman. I think Bateman, and I'm just going to make this quick, Bateman going against Buffalo, a banged-up secondary with Lamar Jackson as quarterback, if he can get 4 catches, I think at least one of them's a touchdown, and they're going to be deep.
No, so, I like that. Bateman.
I love Bateman.
I was looking at Bateman because we were texting earlier, and you said Bateman, and I looked. I said that's right because Micah Hyde's on IR.
Poyer's
out probably.
Tre'Davious White's not playing. Yet.
No, yeah. I agree with that one. That's how I was looking. Then I gotta go with my boy CeeDee Lamb. My big dog of the week for tight end is gonna be Pat Freiermuth, just because I feel like even if not Mason Rudolph, but Trubisky comes in the game, I feel like he's gonna target him a lot. I like that pick. It's got kind of gut feeling this week for him. I feel like he's gonna have a break. He only had 2 catches for 41 yards,
and they came on the last drive of the game.
They're garbage time points.
Pittsburgh's going to realize you need to throw in the middle of the field again. After last week, only 4 of Mitch Trubisky's pass attempts went in the middle of the field. 2 of them were to Freiermuth, and it worked great on that last try for him. Freiermuth has been consistent all season, and I think he's going to have another.
I do too.
game.
That's why I'm liking that one a lot. So,
at the tight end position, my big dog is T.J. Hopkinson of the Detroit Lions. Now, why do you say that? Hopkinson's been very disappointing, Jack. Why do you think that he's going to be your big dog of the week? Well, I'll tell you. Monter St. Brown, man that dominates the Lions' offensive target share, might miss this week, and I personally think that he does. He's missed practice every day this week. We'll see where he's at tomorrow. I'm not confident at all. And even if he does play, Swift is out. Swift is a dominating presence in that offense. They're going to realize that Hockenson needs to make a comeback, and Jared Goff is going to find his guys. Because Goff loves to have chemistry with his receivers, whether it be tight end or wide receiver for that matter. So if Hockenson can go out against a terrible Seattle defense, I think he's going to do fantastic this week. I think he gets in the end zone. He's going in ranked as he's only tight end 16 on the season. I think that Hockenson gives you a top 5 finish this year. All right, so let's go ahead. Oh, we got some breaking news. Jake, if you want to break that for us.
Yeah, we're actually recording this during the Thursday night football game. Tua Tagovailoa has been transported to a local hospital for further evaluations on his concussion. He
laid out on the field with his fingers in a certain manner where it looked like they were broken.
Look like claws.
Apparently that had something to do with the
when
concussion.
you hit your head hard enough, it's gonna make your body kind of freeze up, and whatever how your fingers are, they're gonna lock like that for a minute.
So prayers for Tua. At this state, how that affects Miami, I personally think that significantly deflates Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle's fantasy presence.
I agree. I think that helps Edmonds a ton if you have Edmonds.
It might. I think that I'm out on the Miami backfield. With Chase Edmonds, he's being out-snapped and out-attempted by Raheem Mostert, who has really not done anything with those attempts. Did Edmonds get in the end zone last week?
Well, he just got in this week, too. He just scored a minute ago.
Then maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Edmonds' rushing attempts aren't enough in that
I think
offense.
that helps Edmonds enough. I also think that helps their tight end,
Mike
Gesicki.
I don't know. The main focus, though, is on Tyreek
Hill and Waddle.
Jalen
I
Waddle.
agree 100%.
And losing those two is vital to your fantasy team. Luckily, I traded away Waddle last week, so I'm not stressed too much. But hopefully Tua gets better. That's a huge injury for Miami. Huge.
Yep.
So the big dogs of the week, if you didn't get it by now, those are starters of the week. Guys we think are going to go out there and win your weeks. Now the little pup are the guys that we think are going to lose your weeks. So, Jake, if you want to go out, who is your little pup of the week?
Little pup for quarterback of the week is going to be Carson Wentz. Just because their offense line is terrible this year. I think you saw last week he was getting bullied by the
Eagles
front, and you watch last Monday night, you watch Monday Night Football, you see Dallas's front 7 getting pressure, rushing 4 people. Parsons barely did anything that game, but still had quarterback hits after the end.
Lawrence
is crazy, Yep. I think Dallas's defense is going to go crazy against them. Diggs has a pick, I'm saying it, or 2 against Wentz. So, and Dallas's defense owns the Commanders' last few years. Terry McLaurin has not done anything against Diggs, so that's why I'm saying Carson Wentz is my little pup of the week.
I love the pick. To start out the season, the first 2 weeks, the Commanders' offense was at the top of the NFL. Carson Wentz looked great. They had 3 fantasy-producing wide receivers in Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, and Terry McLaurin. McLaurin is the guy that everyone thought was going to be the number 1 going this season, which he has never been. McLaurin's always been overvalued. And then Curtis Samuel, the current wide receiver 7, has been nothing short of fantastic. after last week, Wentz showed you who he is. It's who he always has been.
He
is
have a
guy.
great week, 1 week, and then the next week, he'll be like, oh, maybe they'll play the same a little bit better, or maybe a little worse, and no one's really noticed. And then a few weeks later, just down.
King of inconsistency.
He, skydives. It's ridiculous. That's
Absolutely.
why I'm saying he is my little pup of the week.
And if I am a owner of the Commanders' receiving core and Terry McLaurin, especially Curtis Samuel, with him still being at the height of his value, I would try and sell high as much as I could right now.
I like that one because I like Curtis Samuel, like you're saying, just because he's going to get kind of rushes out of the backfield. They do the jet sweeps with him and all that kind of stuff. He's like kind of an H-back receiver. So I like that a lot, what you're saying with that one.
So I would try and move on. Who could you get for Curtis Samuel at this point in the season? Because I think you can get a guy that I'll talk about later in DK Metcalf. I think if you offer that up, I think that would be a trade that people would consider.
Maybe you had thrown in someone else with Curtis, but I agree.
Do you think you could snag Amari Cooper at this point?
Yes, I think if you do Curtis for Amari, I think you could do that one very quickly and not see much about it.
Yeah. So I would try and move off the Commanders. I love the little pup of the week with Carson Wentz. That is not my pick, though. My pick for a little pup of the week at the quarterback position is a guy that has been nothing short of fantastic at the start of the season.
Red hot.
Jalen Hurts. So, why do you say that? Hurts is going in against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who is a much improved, not only team in general, their defense significantly. Their pass rush has been very solid. Their cornerbacks are doing well. And we saw
Pass rush is doing very well as well.
Pass rush has been fantastic. And
Allen's
we saw what
been doing...
happened with the Chargers. 100%. So, Jalen Hurts, a couple things against him. Yes, he's been a fantastic running quarterback, but he has yet to score a touchdown in the second half of games this season. Now, a lot of that is due to them being up by so much this season, but it's still a significant stat because quarterbacks usually can play throughout the whole game. The second half, him not doing anything has been very concerning to me. Also, I think that this game screams low scoring.
Yes.
Philadelphia's defense has been fantastic all season. It's in Jacksonville, so that means that Jacksonville...
No, is it going to be in Jacksonville because of the hurricane?
Oh, you know what? I'm not sure.
I think
I saw Tampa Bay move their game
Tampa Bay,
to Minnesota.
Yes, but I am not 100% about that one yet. I have not seen
If the game is in Jacksonville, then I think that that's a big difference. If not, I don't know what location they would move to. But regardless, I think Hurts is going to have a lot of pressure on him. I think that there's going to be a low-scoring game, personally. I still think that Hurts is going to be a top 12 guy, but I think that he's lower to the 12. He's closer to 12 than he is 3, where he's coming in this week. So Hurts still a really good option the rest of the season, but this week I would not love starting him.
Go ahead and do your receiver. I want to look it up.
So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my other little pup, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a guy that you took in the top 5 of your fantasy leagues and has also been disappointing. With his first 2 weeks, he was terrible. And then last week, he jumped up. You know why he jumped up? Snowed in Vermont. Talk about the Yeti one more time. Now, the Yeti is an absolute beast when it snows in Vermont, so we're going to have to keep a tracker on that. If you have Derrick Henry, go in your Apple Weather app and add Vermont just to make sure. But if it doesn't snow, I think that I'm going to be right in this. He's my little pup of the week. They're going up against a solid defense with who's Tennessee going against? They're going against the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah. Indianapolis Colts are the 3rd ranked running defense in the NFL right now, only giving up 77 yards a game. And they've been in close games all season. They've only given up 77 yards. So their defense has been fantastic. Their offense is looking to throw the ball more. Their coaching staff came out this week and said, we need to get rookie wide receiver Treylon Burks the ball more this week. And he's a first-round wide receiver. Those are rare at not panning out. I think he has a good week. and I think that this is going to be a low-scoring game. I'm not in love with Henry this season, and I hate the matchup this week. He's going in as ranked as the RB10 on Fantasy Pros. I think Derrick Henry finishes as closer to running back 20. That's my little pup of the week at the running back position.
My little pup of the week is going to be Breece Hall going up against the Steelers defense. I know they're a little banged up without TJ. What? So going up against TJ Watt, how they have their safeties and who's your Minka Fitzpatrick's in concussion protocol after getting kneed to the head by Chubb last week on Thursday night. So you don't really know if he's going to be in there. So I'm kind of avoiding him just because I feel like they're going to be in deficit. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot. I like Garrett Wilson this week as a flex position start, but other than that, I will not start Breece Hall this week.
The main reason, and I like the pick, the main reason I'm not starting Breece Hall is because a lot of his fantasy value has come from pass receptions. And that's great with Joe Flacco. But Zach Wilson
is going to start,
does not dink the ball down. He is an athletic quarterback who can run around. He does make bad reads. With that being said, he doesn't check down the running back position. So that brings down Breece Hall and Michael Carter this week with Zach Wilson. Maybe we see a difference in trends because he's a little banged up still. I doubt it. I think that that's just how he's wired. And there's nothing bad against it.
No.
But I'm not in love with Breece Hall this week. In order for Breece Hall to be a starter on your team, he needs to catch passes or be the dominant running back. He's neither. I don't think he's going to be either this week.
I don't think so either. That's why I have him on my bench this week, and he's my little pup of the week.
My little pup of the week at the wide receiver position is DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is a guy that you're also a little disappointed, but you got to be feeling high after last week.
Yeah.
You finally caught a deep ball touchdown. Well, I'll tell you why you should go down on that. DK Metcalf is going against the Jay Jetta's Slayer, Jeff Okudah, this week. And this is one thing in fantasy football that you need to pay attention to is trends and matchups. Jeff Okudah has locked down the likes of Terry McLaurin, Devonte Smith, and arguably the best wide receiver in football, Justin Jefferson. Okudah has been nothing short of spectacular for them, and I don't think that Geno Smith is going to be able to get the ball to DK Metcalf. You're going up against good quarterbacks in those games too. Like Kirk Cousins is no slouch, and neither is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has been fantastic, and those guys couldn't get their main receivers the ball. I don't see Geno Smith getting DK the ball at all this week.
Especially with the pass rush of the Lions. I like Hutchinson.
I think Hutchinson has a good comeback game this week.
I agree.
Absolutely. So I hate DK Metcalf this week. I would not play him. If I could look in a different direction, I 100% would. He's going in ranked as the wide receiver 25 on Fantasy Pros. I think he finishes closer to wide receiver 40.
I love the pick, and I'm going to rock with you here with DK Metcalf as my little pup of the week, though. So he's my little pup of the week just because just what you said. Okudah's been locked down over the number one receiver in fantasy football, in Justin Jefferson.
He was drafted in many leagues as either the wide receiver 1 or 2, and had actually the worst game of his career.
Yeah.
And that's counting the first 2 weeks where he didn't play much as a rookie.
Yes. Okudah is locked down this year. Now, DK Metcalf came out today and was like, well, if you watch the film, he has a safety over him, so he's really not locked down. Okudah's that's bulletin board material for Okudah. He's having that in his locker room, hung up saying, oh, I'm not a lockdown corner. All right, let me show you this week. I guarantee you he does not do anything this week. DK Metcalf is a slouch. Hashtag thank you, Cujo.
Low pup of the week, DK Metcalf for the both of us at the Pregame Podcast. My little pup of the week at the tight end position is going to be Darren Waller. Now, he is a top 5 drafted tight end. He has been a top 5 tight end this season. But with a matchup against the Denver Broncos, who, yes, their offense has been terrible, their defense has been incredible. Keeping them in games, keeping them at 2-1. I think that this defense is fantastic. I think that Derek Carr is going to be under pressure a ton. And I think a guy that has been in a really big slump right now is Devonte Adams after his fantastic week 1 where he was the guy that we thought he was. The last 2 weeks he's been mediocre.
He's he's cut a touchdown in every single game he's been a Raider. But here's the thing for him though. He's not dealing with Rodgers as his quarterback. Derek Carr is not even close to Rodgers. I know you hate Aaron. Rodgers is still a top quarterback in this league. And when he got Devontae the ball, he was giving him 50% of the time for Green Bay snaps last year. You take that out of Green Bay, it's 50%. So now you put that into where it was Hunter Renfrow, Waller.
They got the Collins kid who was a great pickup last week.
Yes. So you have all those guys that are taking away from Devontae now and taking away from all their picks, all their ones too. Because you know they're boys and Carr wants to get his boy the ball.
Exactly. So that's where I was leaning towards this. Devonte Adams the last 2 weeks has not had the target share that he is accustomed to. I think they're going to look at the film. They're going to realize that we just traded so much for this guy, paying him so much money, and we're not getting him the ball. They're going to make a change. Adams going to have a big week. I think that target share, with it being here, I think Adams goes up and Waller goes down. Plus, with the bad matchup, I don't like Darren Waller this week. He's going in ranked as the tight end 3 in Fantasy Pros. I think he finishes as a mediocre tight end 10.
See, I agree with you. I think, like what you said, they're right here right now. Adams this week is going to go up, and I think everyone else is going to go down. So I'm staying away from all the Raiders players this week except for Devonte Adams. If you have him, play him. He's a must play. My little pup of the week is going to be Hunter Henry, just because Green Bay's defense is not bad. They're not great, but they're solid.
Green Bay's defense has been fantastic.
They're great. Yeah, they're not like what they can be better. And
they haven't really played too much competition going against Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings, where they lost.
They did get torched.
Then they went and played Chicago with a terrible offense. Justin Fields hasn't been able to do anything. And Darnell Mooney, a guy that we'll talk about later.
Herbert's been great.
Khalil Herbert, who only played last week. He hasn't done much.
Yeah.
But against Green Bay, he was a non-factor. And then last week going against a super banged-up Tampa Bay offense. So, obviously, they haven't been tested.
No.
And I don't think this is going to be a test.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm picking Hunter Henry as my little pup of the week, just because he's going up against Green Bay. And you don't know, Mac Jones, like we said, who hasn't been...
He hasn't been rolled out. I think he's going to be out for a couple weeks.
He's out a few weeks, too. So that means you have their backup coming in, which is Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer.
So I don't like Hoyer right now. I think you need to stay away from them. You just do what you need to do. And if you need to get rid of a tight end, I'd pick up whoever else is available.
Who are some guys you're looking at picking up? Would you pick up an Evan Ingram over Hunter Henry this week?
Evan Ingram's got a lot of targets the last few weeks. I do like that pick a lot. I would pick him up if I could.
I like Evan Ingram. If Irv Smith is available in your league, I think that he's a solid option this week as well. I 100% agree with you, just because the main source of Hunter Henry's fantasy production is in the end zone. And I don't think they're going to be in very many scoring predicaments this week, maybe even this season. So I 100% agree with you on that one. So that goes with the big dog and the little pup segment. Let's go ahead and move on to our other new segment, where we're going to tell you guys if you should hit it and quit it with a player, if you should get rid of them off your team, hit it and quit it, or stay and lay. So let's go ahead. I got a couple players here for you, Jake.
So it's gonna be like we're not gonna go back and forth. We're gonna have Jack. He's gonna look up players, and we're gonna kind of
We're going to
name
tell you
them,
what we think you
and
guys
we're
should
gonna
do
hit.
with those players.
We're going to keep it. We're going to cut them, or we're going to keep them and just
stay and lay, hit or quit. So we're going to start out Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, he's rostered in 86% of leagues. He's averaging 7 points a game and has 12 targets on the season. Most targets he has in a game is 5. Do you hit it and quit it, or stay and lay with Allen Robinson this week? The rest of the season.
Hit and quitting with Allen Robinson. I think he's been a bust in that you won't get the ball in that. It's Cooper
Kupp. Yeah.
Or it's Stafford's throwing away.
It's Cooper Kupp or Tyler Higbee. Both have been fantastic fantasy options this season. I don't think that the offense has enough room for a wide receiver too. And I went to this season thinking Allen Robinson was a fantastic pick. I have to go ahead and take the bullet on that. I'm hitting and quitting just because he doesn't get enough targets. He doesn't get the end zones receptions
at all.
I mean, he has 1 touchdown this season. Should have been 2. It got taken back on a ref call. But at the end of the day, this isn't a guy that I'm going into the week happy to start at all.
Don't agree.
He's
agree
too
100%.
inconsistent. He showed us time and time again, and as fantasy managers, we all know what it's like to have Allen Robinson on our team. He goes out, he's going to underperform, and you're going to be like, why did I draft this guy? And that's exactly how he left me this season. I'm getting rid of him. I'm picking up guys off the waiver wire like Collins out in Las Vegas. I'd rather have Romeo Doubs in Green Bay. I'd take a ton of guys over Allen Robinson.
I like George Pickens. I think Pickens is going to be a guy. He had a great catch last week, was open a ton last week, and they didn't throw to him. I think Pickens is going to be a guy in Pittsburgh.
So you got to go for guys that get snap count. I'm not in love with Pickens. I don't think that their offense can support even 2 wide receivers at this point. You still have another guy. I'll just skip to it right now. Hit it and quit it or stay and lay. Chase Claypool. Claypool, who is in over 70% of rosters somehow, is averaging 8 fantasy points a game. I don't see how he's rosterable.
No, I don't either.
So you would roster George Pickens over Chase Claypool? I don't have the interest. The only guys in that offense I'm interested in, Najee, Freiermuth, and Deontay Johnson. Everybody else, no interest being on my team. Claypool, a guy that underperformed last season. He
had 1 good game few years ago, and everyone's like, oh, Claypool's he's going to be the next Juju, he's going to be the next guy in Pittsburgh.
It's not how it is.
No, he's not.
I think he's a solid guy, but he's not going to be a guy who's going to win you.
He's not your number 1. He's not a number 1 in Pittsburgh.
Same with Allen Robinson. I like the other options, and I don't get how he's still rostered in 70% of leagues. This is a guy you're never going to start and doesn't have any upside. He maybe has touchdown upside, but that is going to be few and far between with Mitchell Trubisky as his quarterback. I'm hitting and quitting on Chase Claypool. Another guy. Rookie wide receiver, first-round pick guy I talked about earlier in the podcast, Treylon Burks. Jake, are you hitting and quitting or staying and laying?
I'm going to stay and lay with him, actually. I like him a lot. I think he is going to be a very important weapon when they start getting down in games. He had
And this isn't a great Tennessee team.
No, it's not. In which they're going to be down in games then, unless it snows in Vermont, and we all know that.
Yeah. The Yeti is gonna eat.
Eat, man.
Hey, man.
So, yeah, I like him a lot. He was in a lot of snaps last week. They said they're going to get him the ball more. He was down. He almost had a touchdown last week. He was down at the 1 yard line, which came in the Yeti, scored the touchdown for him. So I like him this week, and for the rest of the season, I'm staying and laying with him.
Me as well. I'm staying and laying with Treylon Burks. Rookie wide receiver. He ran the most routes on that team. They value him as the wide receiver 1. We've seen what the wide receiver 1 can do in Tennessee with A.J. Brown the last couple of seasons. He's a first-round wide receiver. Those are very rare to not perform well. I think that he's going to get up in the target share. Has he been disappointing so far? Yes, but you're not drafting him to play him right away.
No.
This guy that you're going to keep on your bench, and once he blows up, he's gonna become the guy in that offense. And I think with Derrick Henry getting another year older, I don't think that they can rely on him as much as they have in the past. So I love Treylon Burks. I think that he is a borderline flex play as of this point. We'll see where he goes next week, but I'm staying in lane.
I agree.
Another player, running back for Los Angeles Rams. We got 2 Rams on this segment.
What?
Darrell Henderson. Are you staying in lane or hitting and quitting?
I'm going to hit and quit on him. Just because Sean McVay came out after week 1 and says, I want to see more from Akers.
Akers was in the dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wants to see more. He had 2 carries, I think, week 1 for no yards. And
Akers had 3 carries for a goose egg. An absolute goose egg in fantasy production.
So I think that lit a fire under him and is going to Cam Akers. I would, if you can, I'd get him instead of Henderson just because of that.
So Henderson's a guy that I took in a lot of drafts. I was a firm non-believer in Cam Akers. I think coming off of the Achilles injury, that is something that no running back has come back from until really this season when James Robinson has been an absolute stud for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hashtag thank you, Cujo.
I think that Cam Akers, after last week's performance, he looked like he had a little bit of juice. Fumbled at the goal line, which we'll see where that goes.
That will hurt him a lot, I think.
Do you think this is the main thing with Henderson? Who are you picking up if you drop him? And what do you think happens with Cam Akers? So I think that this is probably a 50-50 split in the backfield. I mean, he's about an ankle biter in this offense because Henderson has been solid the start of the season. The first 2 weeks, he had 12 points, got in the end zone. Week 2, he had 10 points, he got in the end zone. He's not getting a crazy amount of attempts, but for the running backs that are available in 12-man leagues, there's nobody else that really holds value.
No, but I think it's kind of like we were talking about. They're kind of like when you said ankle biters, these are the guys you kind of don't know what to do with. Like, all right, do I keep them on my roster, and if they go off 1 week, they're going to probably be on my bench if I have someone else I can start over them, or you just say, hey, you're done, and just kind of get off my team, and I'm going to pick someone else up.
I think that Henderson needs 1 more week. I think if we get 1 more week from Darrell Henderson, we'll have a definitive answer depending on what Cam Akers does and what they even do with him. Henderson, I love the goal line touches, but he's not on the field enough, and he's not getting enough rushing attempts to be a guy that you can throw in your flex position. So personally, just because of how few running backs are available, especially after the waiver wire ads of this week with Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams, Alexander Madison, with all of them out of there, there's nobody else but backups. So I want the guy that could possibly be the guy in the Rams offense. I'm staying in lane for at least another week. Give me at least 1 or 2 weeks with Darrell Henderson, then you'll have your answer.
All right.
Antonio Gibson. Now this is a polarizing one. I put this here because Antonio Gibson so far has been solid for fantasy owners.
Yes.
He's the RB12. He has gotten touchdowns. He's only fumbled once or twice, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But the main thing I put him on this list is Brian Robinson coming back for the Commanders.
That's why I'm hitting and quitting on him.
Now, this is a normal hit and quit. I think by hit and quit, instead of cutting him off your team, I'm looking to part ways and make him into a trade. Sell him at his absolute highest. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm.
No,
right now we're hitting. We're not in the quitting stage.
No, yeah, you're hitting right now. You're putting him in your lineup, and if once he comes back, or if you know he's going to come back, maybe, hey.
Robinson's going to be back in the next 2 weeks. I don't think that Antonio Gibson holds the starting position. I think Ron Rivera loves Brian Robinson. If you look at running backs from Alabama the last 5 years, every single one has outperformed their ADP in fantasy football. I think that that's good for Brian Robinson, bad for Antonio Gates. I'm not cutting him. There's no way I'm cutting him. But I'm definitely looking to make a trade with him. I just made a trade with a manager that was 0-3 in a fantasy league. He had David Montgomery, who's already banged up and he's going to be hurt. If you have the ability to move on from Antonio Gibson, have him not be in your starting lineup, and trade him for a guy like David Montgomery, who has been a fantasy stud the last 2 years, I make that deal in an instant.
I agree.
So, if you're weaker at any other position, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, Antonio Gibson's a guy that you can throw in and on deal, and another manager could think has a lot of value. I mean, he's the running back 12 in a fantasy season where the running back position has been a complete crapshoot at this point.
So whole season's kind of been a toss-up in the air.
All the top guys have underperformed. A bunch of guys like James Robinson, Jamal Williams.
Noah Brown has been coming up and up because of Dak's injury.
So a lot of running backs have really outperformed ADP and underperformed. So I would try and move out on his maximum value. I'm hitting and quitting Antonio Gibson. Another guy that a lot was drafted as a top 8 quarterback. This is going to be very controversial.
Okay.
Quarterback Tom Brady. Are you hitting and quitting or staying in lane? This is very close.
I want to hear what you say first. I think I have my answer, but I want to hear what you're saying.
It really depends on your quarterback, right? Now, if I am a Tom Brady owner, there is no way I'm going out and starting him until his receivers come back. Now, with Mike Evans back, I think that's going to be big for him. But with that being said, Tom Brady had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin week 1, and he is averaging 13 fantasy points for you on the season. He's been terrible. That defense has won them games. Fournette hasn't even been great. Fournette, when he goes out and he finally gets in the end zone, I think he's going to be valuable, and that's going to take points away from Tom Brady. If I am a Tom Brady manager, I'm hitting and quitting. I'm picking up a guy like Marcus Mariota. I would, as long as Mariota is the starter, I think that he outperforms Brady for the rest of his season. That is my hot take of the episode. Tom Brady, without Godwin, without Mike Evans, has been and especially Rob Gronkowski, has been a complete shell of himself. He's had poor attitude out on the field. It's been hard to see if you're a Tom Brady fan, and especially a manager. I'm hitting and quitting. And if you can get value for Brady just because of his name value, I'd do it right now. I would try and trade for a guy like Kirk Cousins for Tom Brady. I think you can pull that deal off.
I think you can as well.
And if I'm getting Kirk Cousins, I would do it. What do you think? Hit it or quit, or stay and lay?
I'm going to say hit and quit, but... All right, so like I was saying, it's like we said earlier, Jack. Hit right now. I'm hitting and quitting right now, but I'm going to hit for a few more weeks.
So you're staying in lane.
I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle right now, all right?
Ankle biter.
Ankle biter. He is an ankle biter right now.
He's a little chihuahua getting at them ankles.
I'm staying in the middle just because he hasn't... The week 1, when he went against Dallas, he didn't look great, but he also didn't have his main guy, Godwin got hurt.
Godwin played.
But he got hurt during the game.
He still played. When he played during the game, Brady didn't do anything.
No. He was thrown downfield to Julio. He had Mike Evans, who got suspended last week and didn't play.
Huge loss. Yes.
Huge. So that's why I'm...
And to be fair, Tampa always struggles in New Orleans.
Yes. So that's why I'm kind of staying in the middle right now. I like him a lot. But if he performs...
You're staying in lane.
No, if he performs high,
as of right now, you're
him.
Staying in lane.
No, I'm in the middle. I hate Brady either way. I don't know what to do.
Another guy, tight end Dawson Knox, 75% roster share, is only averaging 5 points in PPR formats. I thought before the season, only reason that Dawson Knox was fantasy relevant was because of his touchdowns. He had like 12 touchdowns last season. That regression has hit humongous. I'm bent on the hit and quit. I'm surprised he's on 75% of rosters when you have guys like Irv Smith, Evan Ingram, and you missed out on Tyler Higbee. I get having Josh Allen as your quarterback, but with guys like Gabe Davis coming into this offense and even Isaiah McKenzie, guys that are playmakers, I think that that's going to be huge against Dawson Knox. So I've been out on Knox. I'm staying off on Knox, quitting with Dawson Knox. Get him off my team.
Staying in lane with Dawson this season just because of how he starts kind of slow every season. He's going to start slow, but when it kind of gets into the meatier part of their roster, I think he's going to boost up. And when people are actually going to lock down Stephon Diggs, that's what I'm thinking Dawson Knox is going to be.
You can't lock down Diggs.
You can't, but you can hold. If you do the Lions play him this year?
I think we do.
Okay, so will he get locked down that one time?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying. So I like him. I'm staying in lane with him.
I'm getting rid of Knox. There's no way he's my starting tight end in a fantasy league. Up next, Robert Woods. Still owned in 66% of fantasy leagues. He's averaging 7.6 fantasy points a game. I'm hitting and quitting 100%. Robert Woods, another year older, coming off of ACL, with a passing offense that has not been good. I'm hitting and quitting. There's no way I'm keeping Robert Woods on my team.
Get him out, hit and quit. And I
don't know. You'll never play him.
No, you will never play him. Burks is, like we said earlier, Burks is going to be
If you want anybody, there's two players I want in the Tennessee Titans offense. Derrick Henry, Treylon Burks. That's it. And the only reason you have Burks is because of his upside.
Yes.
Everybody else, Woods gives you no upside. He's an old wide receiver, which older wide receivers, especially coming off of injuries, do not produce in fantasy football. Young wide receivers, especially first-round picks, are guys to own. Burks is the guy. Woods is not. I would take two wide receivers over Robert Woods in that offense. I'd take Burks, and I'd take the rookie Kyle Phillips, a guy that's been out there getting good targets. Robert Woods, no value.
No.
Hit and quit.
Hit and quit.
Another guy. The guy that a lot of people were very high on going into the season, Darnell Mooney.
Money
now,
with two O's.
Tell me your before I tell you mine. Who are you hitting quit or staying in lane?
I'm going to stay in lane. I'm going to stay in lane. This is why. I am a Justin Fields supporter. I think Justin Fields, if he gets an offensive line around him next season.
Dude, we're talking about this.
But I'm talking right now. I think he had this season. Fields he's not looked great, but he hasn't looked bad. He had Mooney wide open on 3 possessions last week and just missed him. I think he is going to be a hit and stay guy. I mean, I'm staying in lane.
This Chicago Bears offense hates to throw the ball. They don't do it at all. And when you are in a fantasy league, you need guys that are going to get targets. I mean, does Darnell Mooney own the target share? Yes. How many pass attempts have they had this year? They are the lowest team by a mile in pass attempts. This season, Justin Fields has thrown the ball 39 times. Oh, but Jack, they had that game that was a complete fluke against the 49ers week 1 where it was a freaking downpour. Since then, the most passes Fields has attempted in a game is 17 pass attempts. You cannot own a single pass catcher in an offense where they throw the ball 17 times a game. No shot. Darnell Mooney, is he a solid wide receiver talent? Yeah, I think he's a good route runner. I think he's a solid player. They throw the ball 17 times. He, at max, is getting 5 targets a game. He is nowhere near my roster.
So you're staying...
I'm hitting and quitting out of the freaking park.
So close.
Out of the park. Not a single pat. The only Bears that you can own this year,
Bear down.
Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery. That is it. No interest in anyone else. Justin Fields has not played well, and they obviously do not trust him. Easy hit and quit. And the fact that he's still owned in 75% of leagues is unbelievable to me. Can't believe it. We got two more for you. Wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Julio Jones. Jake, hit and quit, Stanley.
Hit and quit.
I think it's an ankle biter. I think it's a really big ankle biter.
I know. Now, if you go back and listen to our previous podcast on Anchor, you hear me going off about him in the beginning of the year.
Oh, man, Julio's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, 12 touchdowns. He's old, but...
Hey, after week 1, you were like, oh, Jake, you might not be wrong. Julio might be a guy down there.
Yeah, and then he got hurt same game.
Yeah.
Same game, I'm like, oh, he might actually be decent. He sucks. He got hurt. That's what he does. He's going to be banged up all season. He's going to be the third target at most. Russell Gage just had a fantastic game this week. I thought that Russell Gage was going to be better than Julio all season. I think that I'd still lean Russell Gage, even though I don't really want him on my team.
No.
I don't want Julio either. I'm hitting and quitting for sure. He's already hurt. He's going to be hurt. At most, he's the third option in an offense that's been dreadful the start of the year. Hit and quit. Get off my team. Our last one, a guy that should never be on your roster to begin with.
And if he's on your roster, you're a terrible manager.
He's rostered in 60% of fantasy leagues. Get him off your team. Marquez Valdes-Scantling for the Kansas City Chiefs. But Jack, he has Patrick Mahomes.
No.
He had Aaron Rodgers. Who cares? He went from a top quarterback to a top quarterback, and it's the same production.
He doesn't do anything. He is...
Guess what? You're like, oh man, but he's going to have that week where he blows up. That week, he's going to be on your bench. You will not play MVS at all this year.
No.
And then as soon as he has that blow-up week, when you put him in your roster, he's going to do absolutely nothing for you. Why is he on your team? He should not be owned in 60% of leagues. There are plenty of other options in the wide receiver waiver wire that I'd have over MVS right now. Get him off the team. Hit and quit.
I agree.
Easy.
100% hit and quit. Don't even... If you have him on your roster, like, what are you doing?
Get him off your team. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to come back sometime.
Probably Monday. I think Monday we'll come back.
Monday for our recap.
Monday, Overreaction Monday, Recap Monday. Could be Misery Monday for Jack and us this week.
It better not be.
No, it could be Victory Monday, though. Victory Monday would be great Monday. Victory Mondays are going to be our best Mondays when me and Jack's team, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, Detroit Lions fan. Once they win... What? It's great. Great weekend.
Hey.
Last Monday night was great night for me.
Let's hope for a Victory Monday for not only the Lions and Cowboys, but also for
your
our fantasy teams. We're going to go out there. We're going to have a great week because you listen to this podcast. Thank you, guys. Thank you to the Pregame Podcast
Thank
people.
You.
We're going to go out. Good luck. Follow us on socials, Jackson Galt 7.
Bortel Jacob on Instagram.
And go ahead. We'll see you guys Monday.
Peace. Suck it.